Hey everybody, it is Jason Wood at 11 O'Clock Comics, and as you can see, it's time to dig into the Marvel Previews catalog. This is Marvel Previews number 18 for March 2023, and the vast majority of the stuff solicited in this catalog will be coming to your comic shops in May or later. And let me just say that if you know me, then you know this cover makes me a very, very happy camper. So it's a really thick catalog this month. So let's jump in. Okay. We've got Avengers number 1. If you have watched any of my prior previous videos, you have seen me talk about the fact that I very much love Jason Aaron as a creator, and Avengers has always been one of my two favorite comic books, but sometimes two great tastes don't taste great together. And just for me, and it's just personal taste, Jason's run on the Avengers was not my cuppa. And it went on for a long time. So I have been eagerly awaiting a swap to a new creative team, and we finally have it. And it's Jed MacKay's big break. Jed has been doing awesome work at Marvel for a bunch of years on secondary books, and he's finally getting the call up, and I think he's going to kill it. This is written by MacKay, as I mentioned, and it's drawn by C.F. Villa, who's one of the quote-unquote Stormbreakers, which is Marvel's way of saying their top artists they have under contract. Either way, though, two very talented young creators, I think, ready to stamp themselves as big two power players with this. This is a team that is a mix of, the very classic Avengers as well as some newer ones. But ultimately, I think it's fair to say that all of the members of the initial team are OG, right? Like early, there's no members that came aboard in the 90s or the aughts or anything. As you can see here, we've got Scarlet Witch, Black Panther, The Vision, Sam Wilson as Cap, Iron Man, Thor, and Captain Marvel. So, they are all certainly at the latest early Bronze Age initiates into the world of the Avengers. And I think it's perfect. Heavy hitters, giving us a whole new direction, and I just can't wait. I really do so hope that this is up my alley, because it's been a long time since I have coveted reading Avengers, and I am at my happiest when the Avengers and the X-Men are top-tier books. So, fingers crossed. And we have some interior art from C.F. Villa. As you can see, it's absolute stunning stuff. And props to them having them go up against Terminus in the first issue, because sometimes I feel like when you do a reboot, they want to go out with like the biggest guns possible, and it just feels sometimes a little repetitive, right? Like if they were facing Ultron, or if they were facing Doctor Doom or Kang, all very worthy, no doubt, but just feels a little bit like Batman facing Joker for the 1000th time. So yeah, you give me Terminus in the first issue and I'm here for it. I think it's nice to see. Let me move this up a little bit. Planet of the Apes is not my deal, but it is worthy of mentioning because you've got David Walker and Dave Wachter, two friends of the show, doing this, and I do hope it is a very big success for those of you who love Planet of the Apes. I know that Marvel's got a million people doing analytics, and I can only guess that it tells them that they should make as many Spider books as they can make, but it is pure saltpeter to me. I don't understand why anybody needs or wants to read 15, 20 books of the same characters, but again, above my pay grade. That being said, most of this section is of no interest to me. Oddly, I don't know why they throw Miracle Man into the litany of Spider books, but certainly I continue to read and enjoy The Miracle Man by Neil Gaiman and Mark Buckingham. We're up to issue number 7. So I'm going to kind of really speed through this stuff. Again, apologies if you're a big Spider fan and want to hear me opine, but I'm not going to be reading this stuff, so I just don't know what I can really tell you about it. You've got your Spider-Man, your Miles, your Carnage, your Venom. You've got your Extreme Venomverse. So moving on. Okay, here we've got Storm number 1 of 5. Now, I like Storm as a character very much, so at first I thought, oh, cool, they're going to get Storm a little story here, but this looks like an inventory story that's been sitting in someone's desk for a while and is coming to light. And I say that because it's a 5-issue miniseries written by Ann Nocenti with art by Sid Kochin. It takes place when Storm has got her mohawk, that era of the X-Men, where she is defending a threat to Avengers Mansion, to Xavier Mansion. And it's just, you know, we're so far away from that period of the X-verse, and we're so far into Krakoa and everything that Hickman's been laying down, and we're in the throes of that right now with an event to boot. I just think it's an oddly timed and positioned book. I don't know who's clamoring to revisit this particular time in Marvel's history. If this is totally up your alley, cool. But as someone who generally reads almost every mutant book that Marvel puts out, this is one I think I'm going to be skipping. Peach Momoko continues to low-key put out stuff every month or so with her Demon Wars. I've read a few of the issues and thought they were very visually creative. Not sure there's much of a narrative there that I'm too into, but Peach Momoko is certainly one of the it artists of the moment, and visually speaking, these are all hits. We've got a Groot miniseries. I'm probably going to be skipping that. We've got a Warlock Rebirth, number 2 of a 5-issue series. As you could probably see from the art, it's drawn by Ron Lim. It's written by Ron Mars. So this is the OG Marvel Cosmic creative team doing another story. It does also look like it, based on the solicit, that this is taking place in the olden days when Her was first coming around. So I think you have to be a pretty hardcore nostalgic fan of Marvel Cosmic to be excited for this, but nevertheless, there must be some of you out there. Now, on the flip side, we've got Guardians of the Galaxy number 2 of the new ongoing, written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, who have been killing it on Captain America, and Kev Walker, who is doing his second run on Guardians of the Galaxy. He was one of the main artists during the famous Abnett and Lanning era. So very excited for this. We haven't gotten the first issue yet, obviously, but I think this is going to be quite good. Not a Ghost Rider fan in any form myself, but if I were, it would be Johnny Blaze. So I'm not the audience for a Danny Ketch miniseries. I am, however, going to be checking out this one-shot about Nick Fury, aka Nick Fury Jr. As you can see, there's a bunch of different Furies in the cover art. It's written by Al Ewing, which is a big draw for me. A bunch of artists involve: Scott Eaton, Tom Riley, Adam Kubert, Ramon Rosanas. It is essentially a look at a bunch of different eras of Nick Fury in his life. I've always liked the character, so I think that could be pretty cool. We've got a Daredevil and Echo miniseries, They Lost Me at Taboo. And we're back to more Spider-Man solicits, the Zeb Wells Jr. Romita stuff. So, Venom, Spider-Gwen, and Colt of Carnage. That's exactly what we wanted to see, right? Another Carnage book. Okay, over to the X books. X-Men Before the Fall, Sons of X number 1. Man, Marvel and DC are killing me with the titles for comics these days. I mean, there's colons and dashes and hyphens, and wow, it's like, okay. Written by Cy Spurrier with art by Phil Noto. A Battle of the Titans of the X Universe. This is coming out of the Sins of Sinister miniseries. This involves Mother Righteous and the demonically evolved Nightcrawler. Of course, Nimrod in the background. You've got Legion. So, yeah, continuation of that same story arc. Not sure why they're calling it this, as though it's like a one-shot on its own. Not sure why it's just not part of the ongoing story, but I'm sure there's a reason for that. We are last month wrapped up the Sins of Sinister mini event, and so we're back to those books reverted back to their original titles. So we've got X-Men Red number 11, and Immortal X-Men number 11, the two best mutant books, generally speaking, of the last few years. Wolverine, we've got Ben Percy and Jean Lewin Yang on writing with Juan Jose Rip and Peter Nguyen. I assume I mean, there's a backup story that's written by Yang and drawn by Nguyen, but generally speaking, I think they do this when they're ready to hand off the book to a new creative team. So I suspect Ben Percy's nearly 3-year run on Wolverine is about to end, and Gene will be taking over, and Yang is an awesome writer in his own right, so that could be cool. And this cover, I don't, as you know, I buy a lot of original art. I don't generally buy covers, but that is a cover made for me. You've got Wolverine in his classic brown and beige costume fighting the very cool looking version of Beast, two of my favorite characters. So I'm here for that. Speaking of Ben Percy, he continues to write X-Force with number 40, Robert Gill on art, and it's a new team. And importantly, y'all, the new team continues to have My Girl Domino in it, so all is well. And then, last but certainly not least, we have X-Men number 22 with Jerry Duggan and Joshua Cassara. As you can see, Orcus Rising, you've got MODOK and one of the Mr. Sinisters, and Omega Sentinel, and Nimrod, and a whole bunch of others, the Super Apes. So yeah, it's cool to see that many villains teaming up trying to take down our favorite band of merry mutants. Now here's what I call the sort of the B-list group of mutant titles. I am not particularly interested in any of these, at least not in this form. Maybe I'll go back and read them on the app down the road, but these aren't must-reads for me. I don't know what's going on with the Excellent. I feel like it comes out once every 4 months, so maybe that was the plan all along, but whatever momentum this book had, if it had any to begin with, is pretty much gone. I've read every issue of the Ecstatics characters over the years. You know, Milligan and Allred do a great job with them. I always find it interesting, but at this point, because of the delays, I'm going to wait until all 5 issues are out and then read it in one sitting. I was very excited 2 months ago to talk about the Jed MacKay reboot of Doctor Strange, and we've got the 3rd issue here. We've got the final issue of Avengers War Across Time, the Paul Levitz and Alan Davis Jammy Jam, and Scarlet Witch, which is probably the surprise of the year for me. I have never quite connected with Steve Orlando's work in the past, despite him being a very cool dude in real life. And so far, so good. I think he's found a book that suits his aesthetic, and he's on a roll with it. And Sarah Pichelli on art certainly doesn't hurt. She looks amazing. We shouldn't be surprised by that, but it's been a while since I've seen her do an interior. I have been huge proponents of these 2 Captain America books since they relaunched, Sentinel of Liberty and Symbol of Truth. Colin Kelly, Jackson Lansing, and Toki Onyebuchi are the writers, with different art. R.B. Silva's been the main artist on Symbol of Truth. We've got a new artist on Sentinel of Liberty, Alina Arofiva. I do not know her work, so I can't speak to that, but I can tell you that these have been a blast. And after a year of them being completely separate, we've got a crossover going on right now. As you can see, parts 3 and 4 of Captain America Cold War, where they are battling one another. So good stuff. Not reading either of these. I read the first issue of the new FF. It didn't quite grab me, but I've been told to stick with it, that it is good. They are positioning Fantastic Four number 7 as also issue number 700 if it was never renumbered. So I will take their word for it. And as a result, it's an oversized issue. So it could be cool. Clobber Time, I've mentioned on the prior videos. Steve Scrossi is writing and drawing a little 5-issue mini. He does really fun alt comic type work, generally of his own volition. So it's fun that he's taking a stab at doing a Marvel book for a few months. It should be great. Apparently this is Venom. I'm surprised by that. I've never seen Venom look that way. And it's Dylan Brock, who I believe is Eddie Brock's son. And that's one of the fun things about comics. It's like you have to suspend disbelief in so many ways. So we're supposed to believe that Dylan Brock, Eddie Brock's son, is a full grown-ass man. Yet, you know, Peter Parker's still just out of college and having trouble paying his bills. I don't know how that works, but we're going to go with it. Because it's comics. You've got Ghost Rider, Cosmic Ghost Rider. I think Dap read the first issue and enjoyed it. Not my speed, but I know some people really dig that character. It's one of the newer characters that gets their own book. She-Hulk, I will admit, I was extremely excited by She-Hulk when it came out about a year ago. I feel like it's lost a bit of its momentum after the first few issues. I am continuing to get it, but it is on the chopping block. I do continue to enjoy Captain Marvel. We're already up to, we're fast approaching issue number 50 for Kelly Thompson's run. So huge credit to Kelly for not many superhero writers get to do 50 issues of a character anymore. It's pretty neat. Thor, I think Torrin Grunbeck has done a nice job with Thor. Very big shoes to fill after having to follow Jason Aaron and Donny Cates on the book, but I do think Torrin is doing a nice job. I am not currently reading either Daredevil or Deadpool, so I can't speak to them. I mentioned that I generally don't read Alien comics. Like, it's not always a go-to for me. But the fact that Declan Shalvey, longtime friend and friend of the show, is writing it has got me. I'm going to be trying it. So fingers crossed on that. We've got a ton of Star Wars books, which I don't read. I think it's neat that we've got a Return of Lando book coming out, though. So I might check that out just for shits and grins. We'll see. But I can't speak to the rest of these because I'm not reading them. I've heard most of them are quite good, though. Here you've got a little pitch for the aforementioned Stormbreakers. And then we've got an absolute crap ton of collected editions, as usual, from Marvel. And all I can say about these is, you know, no one can afford 8 to 10 $125 archival books. I get that. And so you really do have to pick and choose. I have an insane number of omnibus, and frankly, I think I own too many because many of them are still in the shrink wrap. But I do like the format. I like the idea of having all of that in one collection to reference whenever I get the yearning for it. We'll go through them here and see which ones I think are of particular interest. You know, Ultimate Spider-Man, this is volume 3 of the Bendis Bagley run. I enjoyed this run as it was coming out. I own the first volume of this. Do not own the second volume. I will not be picking up the third volume. This really just comes down to, did you love Ultimate Spider-Man? For a generation of you watching this video, Ultimate Spider-Man was your first Spider-Man. And so I would imagine for you all, this is a very exciting collection. I don't know many people that would view Nick Spencer's Amazing Spider-Man run as their seminal run. So you have to be a pretty hardcore Spidey fan to be looking to get volume 2 of the Spencer Omnibus. Understandably, with Avengers getting reboot, we've got a bunch of Avengers Omnibu in the catalog. We've got Avengers volumes 3 and 4, which are resolicits. I have the original printings of these, so I don't need them. But if I didn't have the original printings, I would be excited for these because I do think this is some classic Marvel comics that were very formative in my early years of fandom. And then we've got a new solicit for the Avengers Volume 5 Omnibus, which is largely written by Steve Englehart and Roy Thomas. It collects Avengers number 120 through 149, Giant Size 1 through 4, Captain Marvel 33, FF 150, and some stuff from Foom. That is an absolute slam dunk no-brainer for me. Can't wait to get it. Got a new printing of the Captain America Lives at Brubaker Omnibus Volume 3. We've got a new printing of the Ed Brubaker Captain America Omnibus Volume 4. Brubaker had an all-time great run with Captain America, so if you haven't read that stuff, I certainly can recommend it. It's quite good. And we've got the Volume 2 of the Jason Aaron Thor Omnibus. I think Jason Aaron's Thor is as good in totality as the Simonson run. I know that may seem like blasphemy to some of you old heads, but I'm telling you, if you haven't read it, it is as good. I think, you know, it is certainly right on equal footing with that run as the greatest Thor stories ever told. So I will be picking up Volume 2 of that. X-Men The Hidden Years Omnibus. I can't imagine there's many people that need or want this, but hey, you do you. And we've got Wolverine Omnibus Volume 4, which collects Wolverine this is the original Wolverine series from the 80s, number 60 through 75, Wolverine Inner Fury, Wolverine Killing, Wolverine Global Jeopardy, Wolverine and the Punisher, Damning Evidence, the Sabretooth 90s miniseries 1 through 4, Spider-Man Punisher Sabretooth Designer Jeans X-Men number 25. So lots of one-shots from the 90s as well as the main early 90s Wolverine run. I thought the stuff was good at the time. I don't know that I've revisited it, but I'll probably be picking this one up. Got a nice Sins of Sinister hardcover that I'm excited for. It collects all 11 issues. Actually, I think it collects... Yeah, no, it's all 11. Yep, it's X-Men. It's got Sins of Sinister 1, Immoral X-Men 1 through 3, Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants 1 through 3, Nightcrawlers 1 through 3, and Sins of Sinister Dominion number 1. And we've got a Marvel Zomnibus Returns omnibus. That's a hard pass. I gotta tell you, I was surprised to see the Alpha Flight by John Byrne omnibus resolicited. I have the original first printing. This is an all-time favorite comic of mine, especially when John Byrne was writing it. I don't know why they're resoliciting it right now. We haven't seen Alpha Flight prominently featured in Marvel Comics in a long time, and the last time we did, it was basically as a supporting cast for Captain Marvel. So I am hoping that we're seeing this reprint because they're about to attempt a Alpha Flight comic again, a new ongoing. And if we get a new ongoing of Alpha Flight, I will be very excited and likely spend quite a few minutes on an upcoming previews video gushing about it. You've got your Masterworks, you've got different trade paperbacks, which, as you're probably tired of hearing me say, each month is an odd, I think it's odd. It's an odd format these days, because I feel like if you don't want an archival hardcover of something, you probably should just be reading it digitally. The Epic Collections are the budget way to read Marvel Comics. So very good for young readers or people on a budget or libraries, schools, things like that. There's a ton of them solicited this month. Some more collections, but again, none of this stuff is really up my alley because I don't like the formats. And that does it. But pretty big month for Marvel, pretty big month for DC as well, if you watch that video. And yeah, so it's shaping up to be a budget buster month, but that's always good because it means there's lots of cool comics coming our way. So without further ado, let's wrap it up, and I will be back to talk about what the House of Ideas has in store next month.